Yes, listener, that is exactly who that is, Russ Devon. Russ was a guy I met in San Diego. I moved from San Francisco back down to San Diego. And that's when I noticed a couple things. That the jiu-jitsu in San Diego, by and large, is better than the jiu-jitsu in Northern California. Why? I think a lot of the Brazilians moved because of the weather. At the same time, I noticed the striking that I had done in Northern California seemed to be a lot better than a lot of the guys in San Diego. And why was that? It's probably because the Asian influence of martial arts. Oakland is a boxing city up in NorCal. But all those things combined to Russ, who was a black belt in jiu-jitsu, me, who was a black belt in Tang Soo Do, and of course a striker by trade through life, came together in what can only be described as a friendship. Where we aided one another in getting better at martial arts. And let me say something about Russ Devon. The man is absolutely terrifying to look at. Most people look at him and go, oh my God, and they tuck their tail and run. But there is not a better guy in the world, morally and inside himself. He just is a great guy, and he did a lot of things right. And I think Russ was in the Navy for a lot of years. Went out for SEALs, didn't become a SEAL, became something close. He had the trident on his badge or whatever. And what Russ did now is, he's retired to Costa Rica and he's living the life. He had a few MMA fights in San Diego, and I think some other places too. And I cornered him for that one you saw right there. But one thing about Russ is he never pushed. Like, he didn't push me to learn jiu-jitsu. I had a real hard time with jiu-jitsu. But he struck with me whenever I wanted. He's like, let's do it, because he wanted to get better. And at my time with Russ, I think he did get better. He picked up on things. But, everything is a journey. It's not one guy who reveals a Rosetta Stone to you and you get better. Like, you get better by putting in the work. And that's what Russ did. That fight right there, he decimated the guy Mike Tyson style, body blows, hooks, overheads, and just absolutely destroyed him. And, I was very happy to be a part of it. But it's very difficult to corner fighters. Fighters have giant egos by and large, something Russ did not have, right? That's why being in his corner was so easy, right? So many of them think, I know how to fight, I know what I'm doing, I'm tough. And we all know that that's kind of crazy when you're talking about, professional mixed martial arts and whatnot. But yeah, man, time of my life training with Russ, a great guy, great friend. But sometimes some things last for a period of time and you go on to something else. And I'm on my jiu-jitsu phase now, and Russ is down there teaching everything in Costa Rica, which is awesome. Hey, read my book, Warrior of the Light.